Hi guys, welcome to the Bright by Bytes. So, as you know, we are the tech channel and we have been dropping many DevOps videos of late. So, you could have, if you go into our channel list, playlist, and if you check, you could find many videos related to Kubernetes, mainly related to Jenkins, and we also had this daily tips kind of quick videos where we post some day-to-day stuff that we come across in our work. So like I said, Bright by Bytes, we fully focus on DevOps and other tools. So in our previous live sessions, you could have seen we have did some Kubernetes live session, and last month we did this Kubernetes certified exam live session where we thought of helping our whoever the IT colleagues who want to take the exam. And even the new exam had a new format. There are some new things coming up in the exam, so we thought we would make a video and present it to our colleagues. So this is continuation of the same. So in this video, what we are going to see is we are going to see the certified Terraform Associate exam. So as you all of know, Terraform is commonly used as infrastructure as code tool, and we have Ravi here. So he's recently cleared the exam, so he has joined us to share his experience about the exam and everything. So hope you guys have a good time. Narayan, can you take over?
Hey everyone, this is Krish, as you know. We have been running this channel for a while now, and there are lots of live sessions coming in. Today, Ravi is going to present about Terraform Associate. Ravishankar is working along with me in my team. He has worked in various organizations. Flipkart is one, also he has worked in the past. Terraform certification is something that he completed recently. So we are really waiting, including me, to see what are the different tips and tricks he has in his mind to share with us. Who is planning to take Terraform certifications in coming months, weeks, whatever it is. Even if you have already taken, feel free to start a discussion in our comments. We'll be able to discuss it and share it along with your friends and colleagues. Do subscribe to our channel so that you will get easily notified with any future sessions and videos that we are posting. Uh, Thank you. I'll hand it over to Ravi to start his session. Thanks, Ravi, for joining us.
Yeah, hi, Naren. Thank you for the brief overview. So now, hi everyone. I'm Ravishankar. Today we are going to discuss about Hashicorp Certified Terraform Associate. So, what exactly the Terraform Associate exam is all about, and what are all the things covered in the Terraform Associate, and mainly who can achieve these kind of certification. So, how it's going to help us in the cloud environment. So I'm working in the cloud for the past 4 years. So I gathered some few good experience in the cloud technologies across various cloud, AWS and Google, and then Azure. So overall, so how exactly we are going to make use of this Terraform across multi-cloud environment, and what this exam is all about. So this is the thing we are going to cover today. So without any delay, let us start this. Yeah. So for whom this cloud certification is all about. So this Terraform Associate is mainly the infrastructure as a code. So wherever we want to deploy our infrastructure, we'll make use of the infrastructure as a code environment. For example, AWS is having the CloudFormation template, and Azure is having the Azure Resource Manager template, and Google is having the separate their own cloud infrastructure template. So in this way, we have multiple cloud-oriented infrastructure as a code environment. But overall, if we deploy multiple clouds across the customer environment, then we need single code to deploy the entire infrastructure and maintain it across all the environment. So that's where Ashika Terraform is going to help. So this Terraform, we can using this Terraform, we can deploy our code across multi-cloud environment to build our infrastructure. So exactly for whom this certification is all about. So whoever is in the cloud technologies, they can make use of this Terraform. So we can use this certification to prove our knowledge that we have achieved this Terraform Associate. And can I do this Terraform without any coding experience? So that is something we will check. Okay, so Terraform is not only for engineers who have coding knowledge. It is not like that. So if you have the basic terminal skills and the basic understanding of the on-premise and the cloud infrastructure, we can start learning and start utilizing this Terraform infrastructure as a code. And one more thing, if you have any queries or any questions, you can post it, and we can answer it whenever required. And at the end of the session, also we'll discuss, and in between we'll answer the queries, and later also we can listen to your questions and answer promptly. Then, so with the basic understanding and basic terminal skill, is that enough to achieve this Terraform Associate? No, nothing like that. So we need to cover their course. Like we need to learn what Terraform it is, and they have a brief knowledge documents in that Hashicorp site itself, and we can refer multiple videos. One good video is in Zealvora is having a course in the Udemy. I went through it and I have achieved after seeing his video. It was very good, and to the point, he has explained the whole session. So you can go through that video course as well, and then you can do some practice exam, which is available in the Udemy and across the YouTube and the sites. So you can practice some exam questions, how the exam questions are like that. So then you can practice the Terraform code by viewing the video course. You can do some simple exercises, like for example, how to install the Terraform. Then what is a simple code? For example, to launch one particular instance in the cloud, you can write up some small code and then you can execute it, so that you will get an idea how exactly this code is deploying a resource in the cloud. So in that way, you will have some fair knowledge. So once you start learning this documents, the Terraform codes, you can able to deploy it across your environment. So in that way, you can gain some knowledge around how exactly it works. That is going to help in your exams. So now we'll first initially discuss about the Terraform certificate exam. What are all the topics they are covering, and in detail what exactly each topic covers. And once we go through this topics, then at the end we'll see how exactly we are going to take the exam, like booking the exam, and then what is the slot, then what is the price and everything. In detail, we'll see later once we cover the topics. So now the exam objectives. So the whole Terraform Associate has been breakdown into 9 topics, like understand the IAC. So what IAC is, like that, and then Terraform purpose, then the Terraform basics, then the CLI interactions, then what is module and the Terraform workflow, and how exactly we are going to implement and maintain the states of the Terraform, then read and generate the modify configuration and everything, the cloud enterprise and enterprise capabilities. Those things we'll cover in detail. So first, concepts. So we need to understand what IAC is. So what is the use case of the IAC? So if you take the typical on-premise environment or the cloud, you can go and deploy your resources manually. For example, if you take the on-premise, you will plan for the resources. For example, I need this much of memory, this much of hard disk, and this is the router I'm going to purchase, and this is the product I want to deploy. And then you will have a design architecture. Based upon the design architecture, you will start implementing the things in the data structure, in the data center. Similarly, in the cloud, we'll have the environment available in the cloud, and where you need to have a design, like how many resources I'm going to deploy, and what is my core layer, what is my mid layer, and what is my application layer. Likewise, you will have the entire infrastructure architecture. So based upon the architecture, you will start deploying your resources. So the one way is you can get into the console. For example, if it is AWS, you log into the AWS console, and then you will get into the VPC. Then you will create the VPC, then subnets, then route tables. So likewise, you will start creating the whole infrastructure manually. So this is not going to help in the current environment, like for current world. So everything is now the code. So how we are going to deploy this whole infrastructure as a code, so that we can make a reuse of that code continuously. For example, if tomorrow some 30 VPCs we need to create, then we can make use of this Terraform and IAC code to deploy such an environment. So that's where IAC is exactly going to use help us. And the use case, whatever I said, and this Terraform is basically introduced by Hashicorp. They have the whole code snippets in their site. You can refer and you can get the code, and you can modify it according to your environment, and then you can deploy it. So all the references are available in the Terraform sites itself, and you can go through the benefits of the IAC. So whatever I said, like for example, if you want to deploy the same infrastructure again and again, you can't do it manually. It is going to be a time-consuming one. If you deploy it through the code, you can have it in your repository, and then you can clone it and then deploy it. So in that way, you can make use of this infrastructure as a code environment. Then the Terraform basics. So the whole exam covers under these concepts. So if you learn about the IAC use case, what is Terraform, and is there any other providers? For example, AWS is having AWS CFT, Azure is having ARM. In such a way, what is the key differences between those? So those we need to understand, and then the benefits. So that is about understanding the IAC, and then the Terraform basics. So how exactly we can deploy, install this Terraform? So in Windows, some settings are available, and in Mac we have a specific settings, and in Linux we have specific settings. So those kind of settings you can, once you start installing, you will get to know, get to understand those. So for anything, like for example, if you're going to run any particular Python code or whatever it is, you're going to download their libraries and you will modify the environment variables. That is going to differ from each OS flavor. That is something we need to understand. Then the basics, like for example, how to deploy the code. Once you install the Terraform, what are all the environment variables you're going to set, and then uh, how you are going to download this Terraform updates. So that is again Terraform. Once you give Terraform init, it will start initializing the whole Terraform environment. So in that way, the basic CLI commands you need to understand. So that's why I provided the link here, terraform.io.cli index HTML. That will be shared in the, this whole slide will be shared at the end of the session under the YouTube itself. You can refer it and you can explore it. So Terraform basics, like the import, what exactly the import is, and what is Terraform state, and what are all the providers and the modules, backends, plugins. So Terraform basics, like for example, Terraform state file. So what is it by state? In general, state is nothing but it is a collective information about the current state. So for example, if you are running if you are creating one VPC, this is a VPC CIDR, and you will create some 4 subnets through the code. Then in the state, you can see that this is the particular resource that has been created, and this is a CIDR for that VPC, and then these are all the following subnets which is created under that VPC. So in that way, you will have that set of information in the state file. So once you start applying this Terraform configuration, you can compare the state, like previous state, what is the exact state which we have in our current environment. Then accordingly, you can modify your code. And if you want to import some set of instance, for example, you have deployed one whole environment through the IAC, and suddenly one engineer is going and making some changes in the environment. He has created a new instance, so which is not created through the Terraform. Then how exactly you can import that? So what we need to do at the current Terraform version, you can collect that resource information and you can define it in the code, and then you can import it. So directly you can't import the resources which are deployed through manual mode. So that is something in the roadmap that will come as soon as possible. That's what Hashicorp has been informed across the block. So right now, whatever the resources you are deployed in the environment, you need to collect that resource information, for example, instance ID and those things, and you need to update those in the code, and then you can import it. So that in the state file, you can see that particular instance is available. And then the providers. So providers is nothing but one of the providers is AWS. In that way, we have multiple cloud providers. So while we are writing the Terraform code, first we need to define the provider. So under which provider you're going to execute this whole IAC. And then you need to define the resource. So in the provider, you will have the version that what is the Terraform version, what is the provider you're going to use in this Terraform. And then next step is you have to define the resource. So in the resource section, if it is an instance is one of the resource. For example, AWS underscore instance, that is a word they are using in the Terraform code. So likewise, you will define the resource first, and then under that resource, you will define the resource parameters. For example, I'm going to use this particular AMI, then I'm going to use the public ANI or only the private ANI is enough. What is the subnet I'm going to use, and what is the VPC I'm going to deploy it in the environment. Such way, while creating the instance, what are all the parameters you're going to use? Those parameters you are going to define it under the resource. In that way, you will update the resource details. Once you update the resource details, then you will start init and then apply and then execute that code. In that way, that full flow will happen. We'll see about that init, apply, and other things in next slide. So likewise, we need to understand the basics. So what is import, state, and the providers, modules, backends. Backends is nothing but once you deploy the environment, that state will be stored. So where you want to store? Is it you're going to store it locally, or you're going to push it to some repo, or you're going to push it to some S3 or somewhere? So in that way, we'll make use of the backend. So as a standard best practice is to have the backend in different place, not in your local machine. So the most predominant one is S3 with respect to AWS. And then the plugins. Plugins is nothing but, for example, if you're going to initiate your environment using the AWS cloud provider, then the AWS updates will get downloaded locally into your system. That will get initialized while you're applying the Terraform init. Once you do the Terraform init, immediately it will start downloading the updates with respect to AWS. The similar way, whatever the providers you're going to define, that provider information will get downloaded and locally stored in your machine where you are executing the Terraform. And then the provisioners, local exec and remote exec. So what is meant by provisioner? So the word the provision, that itself is self-explanatory. For example, provisioning means we are going to provision something. So whatever the resource, for example, you have deployed on instance, in that instance you want to run some basic applications or some script, then what you will do, you will start executing those through the code itself. Like you can make use of a local exec. Local exec means you will have one template bash script or something in your local machine, and you will run that local code to achieve to install some applications on the instance. Or you can make use of the remote exec. Remote exec in the sense, you will log into the session system remotely, and you will execute some Ansible script or something, and then you will do the rest of the things. That is a remote exec. Then the Terraform CLI. So with respect to CLI, from the exam side, like they have split this whole Terraform Associate exam into these kind of topics. So each and every topic you need to refer the keywords. Like for example, use the Terraform CLI, right? CLI means what are the basic commands you're going to use. So whenever you are executing the Terraform, you will start with Terraform init, then you will Terraform plan, then you will apply. So likewise, some basic commands are there. So you need to understand what exactly Terraform init and what exactly Terraform apply and what exactly the Terraform state. Likewise, we need to understand the basics of Terraform. Then Terraform taint. Taint means if you are going to declare some resource to be deleted later, then you can mark that resource as taint. So that is Terraform taint. Then import already we have discussed in the previous topic. And then Terraform format. So you're going to format that code that you can use the Terraform FMT command. So in this way, you need to understand the basic commands of the Terraform. So then, so from these basic commands, they will have the questions and how to enable the logging, debug errors, and how exactly you're going to debug. Once you execute the Terraform code, you will get some errors in case of any issues in your code. So how you're going to debug those errors? By enabling the df log. So likewise, some what is the basic logging which is available if you enable the df log, the verbose is there. So likewise, you need to refer how exactly we can debug the whole Terraform errors. So in that way, you need to look at the documents. Then the interact with Terraform modules. The modules, So module is nothing but, for example, you are working under some enterprise and you want to deploy some 30 number of pieces, and later maybe after a year you want to deploy one more set of environment in a different location. So in this way you will keep on implementing your environment with multiple changes. So in that kind of environment, if you want to uh, modularize some of the inputs, for example, you are not going to create the VPCs multiple times within the same. For example, in the VPC, you are going to create some subnets, and then under the subnet, you are going to deploy some instances, and then you are going to explore multiple services. But the VPC something is creating at the first stage, and later stage, you are not going to touch that VPC. Only you are going to create multiple resources. So, and then you can pass some parameters also. For example, if you are going to create some auto scaling group and later you want to touch only the parameters. In that way, you don't want to run that code again and again. So while doing that, we'll make use of this Terraform modules. So you declare it at one point, and from there you can do this. So then the Terraform modules is something like that. So you can define the standard things like VPC and then the subnets and other things. Then whatever the parameters you are going to pass, those parameters only you can pass. You can call that module. In this module, I'm going to use these parameters to run our environment. In that way, we can make use of the modules, and you can push the modules also. There are private Terraform modules are available, and then public also available within Terraform registry. You can make use of this, and you just learn about the what is meant by private Terraform registry and public Terraform registry. So in this way, you can do it. And then what is the version variable attributes? So this is one of the key tips I can give for the exam level. You can say refer the same tips and across multiple exam preparation video courses. So these are all the regular expressions we can make use of, like greater than or equal to 1.2.0. So in this way, you start understanding these regular expressions. So from this, using these regular expressions, you will define in your code. Sir, I want to use this particular version alone. Then you will make use of this equal to sign. And if you want to do the other versions, then you can modify the regular expression accordingly. So learn, just explore around it and learn more about this version variable and attributes. So let's see, is there any other questions available so that we can answer few, and then we'll start moving on other slides. Yeah, one question Karan has raised, like, can we use S3 bucket? Sorry. Suppose Terraform state file manually deleted, how to archive that state file? So manually deleted, but again, you're going to secure your S3, right? So that's why the Terraform backup state is available, and then Terraform state is available. Terraform backup is also there, so you can store it securely. The S3 that's where we don't want to keep that in central repository where everyone is allowed to do that. So you can have it in separate S3 or somewhere. So in that way, we can avoid this manual deletion, or you can export it to some other repo and you can move it to the cold storage or somewhere like that. But Terraform backup is also available. The state backup file is also available. Hope that answers. In case of any clarification, maybe I'll refer and update you. Any other questions? IBM Cloud, can you give some info about Terraform for IBM? Yeah, so IBM, I didn't work personally, so I get an opportunity to work on AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud. But the documentations are available within Terraform site itself. There are multiple providers are available, so you can explore it. If you have any specific question about IBM, you can post it, and we can refer it and come back to you, Vamsi. Sorry for that.
Yeah, just to add to that, IBM, there's also a separate open source repo maintaining IBM Terraform as a provider. And there are some examples available. But I'm not sure how mature it is as compared to AWS Terraform provider. But it can be referred. We'll provide the link shortly in the notes.
Yeah. Any other questions we can take? Similar to AWS here, which is used to spin up instances through Jenkins job. So we need to use So what do we have in options? Yeah, in terms of CI/CD, like you can make use of Jenkins itself. So it's not only use Jenkins. So if you are using the Jenkins already, yeah, you can very well make use of this Jenkins to execute this Terraform.
Yeah, to add to that, it's basically a CLI, and then you can trigger it from any CI/CD, or you can use any automation to trigger this one. All you have to do is that that code should be able to access your AWS if you're using AWS. Yeah, you're talking about AWS. So if you're using AWS, you should have access to the AWS. So you should have the credentials configured in that particular machine. So it can be triggered from any machine, anywhere. So it's quite possible to trigger it from anywhere. Jenkins is just one example. Just a CLI, you can even run it from your local machine or any other server of your choice.
Can we use S3 bucket to store the state file if you are provisioning the Azure environment? Yeah, this is something I didn't explore, but there should be an option since S3 bucket has been exposed. It's a public service, right? So you can store your information to S3 bucket by using that S3 public URL. That should be supported. There should not be any issues. Maybe we can cross check and update you current. You're facing vulnerability challenges in CF. Have you overcome any kind of vulnerability? So vulnerability challenges, right? This is so no one can arrest the whole vulnerabilities within the cloud formation or any other things, right? It's a day-by-day activity. It's an operational activity. We need to keep on updating our environment. For example, at the code level, if you are exposing the access key and secret key, that is one kind of vulnerability. So we need to stick to the best practices from each and every provider. And then you need to have some strong vulnerability scanner. For example, in market where Nessus scanner is available, then Qualys is available, and even Twistlock. So many products are available. If you get into an enterprise level, they will have one vulnerability scanner that will scan across the environment, and we need to keep on update our code. But always the best practices are there. We need to refer that, and we need to update our code. No need to expose the access key and secret keys. Let's do it through the SSO and have the service level username and password. So likewise, I use the IAM roles instead of using the IAM username and password. So in this way, so many best practices are available. So we can make use of that. Yeah, we'll see the high level differences between enterprise and open source version. In the site, it is available already. So we'll see some overview alone. Since it is not a detailed course topics, it's about the exam tips and tricks. So, and then how exactly we're going to attempt this at Terraform Associate. In case I'll try to post some kind of table of information with enterprise and open source differences. I think we'll continue with the
Yeah,
topic now. Again,
go
we'll come
ahead.
back. Yeah.
Please go ahead. We'll come back at the end of the session.
Yeah. So then the third one is navigate the Terraform workflow. So as I said, we need to understand the very basic commands, right? Terraform init, and then Terraform plan, apply, and the whole thing. So from the word itself, you will start understanding the detail around it. For example, init. So what is meant by init? Init is nothing but initialization. You are going to initialize the whole environment. So how exactly the initialization is going to happen? If you take any kind of programming or your system itself, once you start your system, it will start initializing, right? So that means it is going to get some information from your system to boot up. The same way, if you're going to do the Terraform init, it will start downloading the provider's information. For example, whatever the things you have defined in your code, based upon that, it is going to initialize your environment to run the Terraform code. So that's where if you mention provider AWS, then it will start downloading the plugins from the AWS provider. So in that way, the initialization will happen. Then the validate. So once the initialization is complete, then the validate process will. If you do Terraform valid, it is not a mandatory one. You can directly go and after Terraform init, you can directly switch to Terraform apply also. As a best practice, you can validate the whole code. So that is something TF validate. Then the TF plan. So TF plan is something, for example, you have a live environment or whatever. So in that environment, whatever the code you are trying to execute, so what exactly the code is going to produce. For example, I'm going to create one instance. So what are all the instance details? Like how many resources it is going to create? Is the instance is having a private NI or a public NI? So what are the things that will get listed? So if you do it manually at the final stage, for example, in the initial screen, you will start defining the VPC, subnet, IAM roles, and what is the subnet I'm going to deploy. And the second screen, you will start defining the disk size and so many things. And the final screen, you will see the whole settings, whatever you have defined. Then you will click on create that instance. The similar way, Terraform plan is going to narrate your whole code. The whole code is going to create this particular environment. Do you want to check? You can check it. So that's where the plan is going to help. You can do the plan. You can do the plan TF plan, and you can see what our code is going to create. So within the plan, at the end of the plan, you will see the symbols like plus, asterisk, and then till symbol like that. So plus means what are all the resources going to add, and the till means like what are all the resources going to delete. This particular Terraform code is going to delete these many things like that. At the end of the plan, you can see those. Once the plan is clear and you want to apply this code, then you can do the Terraform apply. Once you apply, it will start asking whether you want to apply this code, yes or no. Once you click yes, then you will start deploying the whole environment. And if you want to destroy the created resource, then you can make use of the TF destroy. So likewise, you need to understand what exactly Terraform unit is going to do. Terraform validate, plan, apply, and then destroy. So this is a very basic thing. From this, you can expect some too many questions. So that's why the whole content has been split into 9 topics. So under each topic, you will get some questions, and there is no weightage defined compared to other exams. So they didn't define any weightage as such. So start exploring every topic and concentrate on the very basic things. So that is about the navigating the Terraform overflow. So for example, one practice exam question I have seen in the Udemy video courses like, will there be any warning or note displayed at each level? So while applying the Terraform apply, without any anything, whether directly it is going to apply the whole configuration, no, it is going to give some warning. So always the warning is expected, right? Somebody unknowingly, if they wanted to apply they by mistakenly, if they do the Terraform apply, immediately the Terraform environment Terraform code is going to execute the resources, right? That is not going to happen. So there you will have some warning, type yes. So that is one kind of type. And implement and maintain state. So this we already defined, discussed, right? Local and remote states. And what is the backend authentication methods? So authentication is method like you can in your test environment, maybe while we are starting with the Terraform code, while we are learning, we can pass our access key secret keys, but that is not a recommended one. You always try to make use of the IAM role or the federation identity kind of thing. Don't put your access key and secret keys at the code level. So the very basic thing is that. So you always follow the best practices. While practicing, you can do it. So that's where how the authentication method is going to happen. Those things you will explore. Then the drift. So drift, for example, if you are already experienced on AWS CFT, we have a drift option. So in general, what is the meaning of drift? So while we are driving somewhere, we'll just get diverted from the road by. So that is the same exact thing is going to happen in your environment as well. If you are going, if you can compare it, you already deployed one entire environment. You can see the drift. Is there any manual changes have happened or so many things? So that is something you will come to know through the Terraform state, refresh, and config and all. So that you can explore it more. Then understand the secret management in the state file. So if you give the access key and secret key, you can see it in the code, or you can, if you want to mask those values, you can use the mask thing, and you can mask the whole keys and all. And is there any other database username and password? If you want to mark it as star, then you can make use of it. In that way, there is some standard practices are available. You can go through the course and you can get to learn about that. You can expect some questions around it as well. So each and every topic, these things we need to cover. You need to understand clearly. Then read, generate, and modify the configuration. So this is at the code level, how exactly you're going to define the resource, the providers, resource, then variables, so many things. If you are using the AWS CFT, we used to define the, we'll structure the code in such a way, some parameters, values will be passed as a parameters. So in case, if you do the hard-coded value, then again you have to touch the code and modify the parameters. That's where we'll make use of the parameters way. The similar way, in the Terraform also, you can write the whole code in a single TF file itself, or you can split into different ways, like keep the variables in a separate file, and keep your code in a separate file, and keep your security group in separate file, and keep your VPC and other standard things in one file. Likewise, you can split your Terraform code so that it will be easy to understand, and it is also easy to modify the things in later stage. So that is one kind of best practice you can do it. And then how you can pass the values. For example, I have created a VPC. Then later stage you're going to create some subnet, and then you will deploy one instance. Then using that instance IP, you're going to perform some other operations. So in that case, you will how you will get that instance IP by using the output modules. So you can define the output modules where you will output the value which has been created. Using that value, you can refer it to some other resource creation. So in that way, you will make use of the output modules. And then the constraints. So you just start exploring about the constraint, the primitive complex types, and what is about list and map set like that. So for example, in the tag, and then if you're passing some AMA values, you will have some standard structure in the code, like you can mention the region, and you can call that region in the variables, and then you can pass some values under that. So likewise, you will make use of the map, and then subnets and all you can define it on the list. And if you're going to create multiple resources, then make use of the list options. So likewise, some primitive and complex types are available. You start exploring it and understand those basic things like list, map, what exactly list is going to do, what exactly the map is going to do, and in which use case we can make use of the map, and which use case we can make use of the tuple and option. So likewise, you start exploring around it. So in that way, you will have some questions around it, and then understand the built-in functions. So built-in functions, you will refer this using this link. You can see that built-in functions, and then the dependencies like explicit and implicit dependency. So where exactly you will explicitly define, and where you will implicitly define the values. So those key differences, understand those key differences between explicit and implicit. You can refer the code differences. For example, you have one code with explicit dependencies, and start seeing one code with implicit dependencies. Likewise, you start everything with some key differences using the code itself. Take one resource block or take some code in the net, and you just see the differences. So start practicing the exams. So like practice exams are available in the videos and Udemy and YouTube and all. You can refer it, and you can see the differences over there. Then the module path and resource spec. For example, if you are going to define the code in the module, then you will call that module in your Terraform code. So how exactly you can call that module in your Terraform actual Terraform code? So what is the command you will use? So those things you need to see. So for example, URL, then you will have a question mark, then reference equal to path, like that. Some standard definition will be there. So you need to understand. So out of the question mark, you will have the reference and then the path like that. So they will have your options like with multiple options, then you need to select them. So in that way, you will start understanding how exactly you are going to call the modules in your code. And then coming to the Terraform Cloud and the enterprise capabilities. So Terraform Cloud and open version is there, and then cloud is there, then enterprise capabilities are there. Terraform is having some multiple plans. So if you choose Terraform Enterprise plan, you will have some auditing and other things are available. You choose Terraform Cloud, again, you can push your code there, then you can execute the code at the cloud level, and you will have the code in the cloud, and it will have some checks also within the code. So likewise, some policies can be applied. So there is some features available. The, like, for example, Sentinel is there, registry is the workplace. Sentinel is kind of ACL, you can say. For example, in the security group or in the IAM role done, you will define some permissions. If this permission is there, you can execute this code. If this permission is not there, you can't execute that code. In that way, if a person trying to execute a resource in a restricted environment, then you can write some sentinel policies. So that policies will check your code, and if the policy is not matching your code, then immediately that code execution will be stopped. In that way, you can define it. That is available in the cloud enterprise. So likewise, you need to understand the key differences between Terraform Cloud and Enterprise, and no need to explore it in deep understanding. Like you just understand the Terraform Cloud and Enterprise, what exactly it means, and what is the key differences between these. Then with the enterprise, you have VCS provider, then OSS. For example, there are different types of workspaces will be created in the Terraform Cloud. So if you are into dev environment, you can create some code and you can execute it, and you can create a separate environment for the production environment. If you are working on dev environment, if you immediately want to switch over to production, then you can move to the jump to the workspaces. You can move from one workspace to different workspace. So those kind of commands you just learn. You just understand what is going to be workspace at the Terraform enterprise level, then VCS provider. So those things you just understand, and what is the key differences between the open source and the enterprise, and how the backends is being maintained for each and every workspace. Is there any separate environment, separate state file will be mentioned, backend will be maintained, or across multiple workspaces is there a standard backend is available? That is something you need to explore. Yeah, is there any questions before moving into exam details? Yeah, like, can we take some questions? Yeah. What are the different types of formatting? Can you use examples? Examples. Yeah, Terraform is supporting JSON YAML. We can make use of. That's why I didn't work on Terraform Enterprise, so I'm not sure about the workspace related questions. Maybe I can refer and update you on say. They're talking about the Terraform workspace, right? So Terraform Enterprise level workspace settings, that is something not clear. At the code level, if you're creating one instance and if you want to get that instance ID, you can make use of output modules. So using the output, you can get the instance ID details, and you can make use of the instance ID in different resource creation.
Yeah. So the question is about two different Terraform repositories having their separate states. Then, of course, as Ravi explained, you can use remote state to retrieve that information and output the variables and retrieve it also. If it's about another workspace, then it's a different question. So that's something we'll get back.
Hashicorp vault related questions as well. No, Hashicorp vault related questions is not, because we have a separate certification available for Hashicorp vault. So you can understand just what is going to be Hashicorp vault alone. Not any detailed questions are not coming under Hashicorp vault. So all the topics are what are the questions which is comes under these topics only? What is the customized modules in Terraform? So if you refer the registry, right, there is a private registry and public registries are there. You can refer those registries to understand the modules. You can download those existing modules, or you can create your own customized modules for your environment.
Yeah, it is similar to what Ravi explained a few slides back, that if you want to write your own customized EC2, for example, if you're creating an instance and if you want a specific instance to be created that you want to reuse again and again across your Terraform repositories, you can write your own modules. But there are some, pre-built modules available. There's also a very huge list of repositories available. Like he explained, like from grunt work, there's lots of, pre-built modules available which can be reused. So go through them and then have a look at.
Yeah, Terraform is any other certificate. Yes, 3 levels of certificates are there. Terraform Associate is there, and one more is there for Vault, and one more is there for Consul. There are 3 level certifications are available. Yeah, you can very well refer the Udemy course, the Zlora as a course about Terraform. That is more than sufficient, and you start creating some simple code. starting from resource creation, for example, instance creation. So how I learn in the sense like first initially compare your manual resource deployment. For example, if you're creating one instance, what are the things you will have in your mind? For example, what is the VPC ID and what is the subnet and what is the IP I'm going to use? Do I manually specify the IP or automatically? And what is the storage? Likewise, you will have some list of parameters in your mind, right? So in that way, start creating some simple code. First, start creating one instance in the AWS, and then slowly how we can. So, for example, if you are going to the console, you'll start giving your username and password, and then getting into the console. So, how you'll do it through the Terraform. So, you will make use of the access key and secret key. So, what is the other way around the access key and secret key? Because if you expose those keys, it will be vulnerable, right? In that way, start one by one. Start with this video course on Zilvora. The Zilvora course itself, you will parallelly executing the Terraform code. Each and every video, you will have some small level code. Then compare it, get the resources from the Terraform, and start installing in your system and create the code. Very basic. Start with very basic codes. Yeah, key values, your TF vars is there, right? Like for example, if you want to ignore certain files, you don't want to publish those information in your code or in your repo, then very well you can mark it as TF vars. And some other standard best practices also available, like you can manage the secrets in different ways. So those resources are available in the Terraform itself. You can refer it. So one way is TF vars. You can define the parameters in the TF vars itself, and then you can use the mask and other things. Always the future for Terraform. So if you understand the future of Terraform, right? So everywhere now in the cloud, if you start from 2010, if you see, we'll have the code manually. So many people are deploying, and if you take multiple streams are there, network team is there, then security. Likewise, if you take the typical data center thing, you will, for each and everything you will have separate teams. So now in the cloud, you no need separate teams to build one particular environment. For example, now if you take networking, then only VPC, subnet, route table will come. If you take security group and NACL, and then few security resources deployment is there. But if you the whole environment is going to apply through the Terraform code. Already CFTs are there, ARM is there for Azure. The similar way, Terraform is going to rule the future for at least for an extent. So each and every environment is created through the code only now. So Terraform is going to support multiple environment, and they have enough large number of providers within their site, so we can refer it. So definitely Terraform is going to help us. Naren, maybe you can add some few points on it.
Yeah, yeah, that is it's very difficult. It's better to follow the roadmap of Terraform. There are lots of organizations already using it, and as we all know, Terraform is still in a beta version. They have not even declared it as a live version like 1.0, right? So they're still building up. There are lots of activities going on. There's a huge community behind it. Large number of organizations is using it. So I think it's better to move towards it. And irrespective of that, it's just one of the infrastructure as a code formatting, right? And infrastructure as a code is going to be there forever because it has its own advantage, and nobody wants to do the manual way of provisioning a resource and then waking up late in the night to fix something that bad, or manually setting up things, right? Nobody is going to do that anymore. So learning Terraform is just one technology, just like any other programming language. You understand the logic. Once you are aware about the concepts, then I think even if something else is going to take up, you're already prepared because you know how things works. Just that the syntax will be different. Probably the input may not be YAML or JSON. It could be something else, but it's going to be there, right? The overall concept. So it's nothing wrong in learning and using it. And right now it's anyway in high. So I think it's important that we understand and learn about it. Ravi, there are lots of questions pouring in, so I would suggest you proceed with the remaining codes. We'll take up the remaining questions at the end of the session as well.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, one more example I can give for this future of the Terraform. Like, for example, in my previous organization, we started with one customer, only AWS, and we start writing the CFTs. So multiple team people have came and they started learning the CFT, AWS CFT, and they have started deploying the code. Then one more customer came with the Azure environment. Then everyone started learning so how exactly we can make use of Azure resource management template and how to deploy those environments and how we can create the whole infrastructure. Then these things were going for nearly 1.5 years. Then later one more customer came. He wanted to explore the environment in all three clouds. Now in Google Cloud again they started seeing what is the thing going to help, and that customer is very understandable. He said like, I don't want to manage multiple codes across each and every cloud provider. I just want one common template. Using that template, my job should be done. So that way the customer request was. So that's where Terraform we make use of Terraform. So we have single Terraform code. Now each and every engineer started learning Terraform, and he can understand the whole logic behind the Terraform. So we can easily launch the environment in any cloud. So that's where Terraform is going to help you. So not most of the customers having multiple environments, but to be frank, like now people now customers started exploring at least two clouds now. So that is the future I want to I want to give with some simple example. So now we'll move on to the exam details. So exam details, yeah, exam is a multiple choices. There is no lab questions as such. No need to enter any commands and you start executing some, creating some code and execute it. Nothing like that. There is no lab related questions. Only the scenarios will be given and code will be given. You need to understand the scenario and see the code. Is there any flaws in the code? If I execute this code, what will happen? In that way, you need to understand. So multiple choice questions are there, and true or false, yes or no. Then choose any three answers, choose any four answers, choose the right answer out of this four, choose the best answer. In this way, multiple choice questions are there. Then format is right now with the COVID situation, online proctored exam is there. The duration is 60 minutes. You will have around 56 questions, 56, 57 like that. Then the price is $70 with a local tax. The language is English. The certification expiration is 2 years for Terraform Associate exam. Then how exactly we can register for the exam? So you need to have one GitHub account. Using the GitHub account, you're going to log in with the GitHub. Then you will authorize the GitHub account on the from the Hashicorp's end. So you need to click on that authorize Hashicorp. Then it will redirect you to PSI portal. Once you get into the PSI portal, you will start seeing the Hashicorp certified associate eligible to schedule. So there you just schedule your exam, give your details, the first name, last name, and email, and so on, so many things. Once you given the detail, then immediately you will start seeing the location and time zone. Once you selected the location and time zone, you will have the dates on that particular date. Across 24/7, you can depends on your time zone, you can write the exam. So accordingly, you can mark your slot. So the times will be defined. Then once you finish the schedules, then you can move on to the payment information page. There you will pay using your credit card only. So use your credit card and do the payment. Once your payment is done, immediately you will start seeing the payment is completed and you will have your schedule in your exam portal itself, PSA exam portal itself. So that's how we need to register for the exam. First one is GitHub account, then authorize the GitHub account. Then using that PSA exam, then should fill in your details and do the payment. And you can prepone or postpone your exam within 48 hours before the exam date. Then the exam day. So on the exam day, you can log in to the exam before 30 minutes, at least some 15 minutes. If you before log in before the exam, it will help you. Or you can previously also run your system check. If you are planned for the in this laptop, you're going to write one exam, then immediately do the check, run the system check using the syscheckbridgepsaexams.com. There you can run your system check to understand whether your browser is supported, your microphone and your camera is supported like that. So then you'll download on PSI secure online browser. You need to download that browser. That browser, using the browser only, you will start your exam. So in the browser, the proctor will come online and you will see the chat option in the browser itself, PSI online browser itself. And once the proctor came, he will start asking the questions like, you show me your ID to the camera, then you will verify the ID, then he will ask you to show your entire room 360 degree. He wanted to see the complete room. So keep your room without any displays. Like for example, is there any exam notes or tips and tricks? If you paste it, you just remove it, and then clean your table wherever you want to keep your laptop. He will ask you to turn your laptop upside down to see, to ensure whether the table is clear or what. And then he will give some explanation how exactly this whole session is going to happen. Then post to that, proctor will go out. You will start doing your exam, but proctor will be always watching you for next 1 hour till the exam gets closed. In case of any doubts, you can ask it in the chat, ask it over the chat. Immediately will respond. On my experience, I scheduled my exam around 9 p.m. and I started getting into that exam portal by 8:45, but proctor didn't came. Nearly I waited for 20-25 minutes. Then around 9:20 he came. My scheduled time is 9 p.m., but he came at 9:20. Then the formality is taken for 10 minutes. Then we started the exam by 9:30. So no need to worry. Like if my exam is not starting at 9, don't get panic. Once the proctor came, he will check, he will finish all the formalities, then he will ask you to start the exam. Once you start the exam, then only the 1 hour count will start. But you always join the exam on time before 15 minutes to check everything and wait for the proctor. In case if proctor is coming, just be politely wait for some time. Maybe for some people it took almost half an hour. For some people it took almost 40 minutes also. So don't get panic. You just wait. In case if you want to close your browser, you just close the PSA online browser and once again come back and see whether proctor is online or what. Once you have the chat option enabled, and then immediately you can start passing your comments and you will ask for your digits. So don't get panic on the exam day. This thing will happen for sure because proctors are not on time. Some proctors coming on time. It depends maybe on the time zone. Maybe I'm not sure about that. So that's all about the Terraform Associate, the tips and tricks in the exam day. So all the very best to all the people who plan to write this exam. In case of any questions or doubts or any clarifications, you can post your comments and we'll try to update that as soon as possible. Backend. Okay, we'll start seeing the questions. Okay, what is backend in the AWS? Yeah, S3, you can make use of S3 in AWS. Practice tools available. So practice tools in the sense like we can make use of our system. Like for example, if you are asking, if I'm referring to Kubernetes, they have a code cloud site where you can have a parallel console from their site itself and you can start typing your command and you'll see the actions. So we don't see, I didn't see any sites similar to code cloud or whatever the Mumshat taking courses. So there is no separate online tools. I didn't explore it. Maybe if I explore, I'll answer you. But you can install in your system itself, any Unix or Linux or Windows system, you can install it. It is very simple and straightforward. You can execute your code. For writing the code, you can make use of Atom, Visual Studio Code, or Sublime Text. So likewise, you can use some editors, standard editors, where you can see the color codings for each and every code. So that will be easy to understand the whole code. And in case of any things, you can execute. Why only Terraform instead of CloudFormation? I think I already answered it. So if you are going to explore with multiple cloud providers, then very well you can make use of Terraform. That's where Terraform is going to help instead of CFT. If you are only using the AWS, yeah, you can make use of CFT as well. But again, now people have started seeing Terraform is, everybody started learning Terraform. So it will be always helpful to run your environment in Terraform. So in case in future, if you want to explore in other environments, you can make use of this Terraform. Yeah, is Zalora course is sufficient to prepare? Yeah, it is sufficient actually. So you can go through this Zalora course completely and start practicing it. And even at the end of the Zalora course, he has some exam preparation, practice exam questions. Those you can do it. Or even one more person, Brian, has have some exam preparation console available within the Udemy course itself. We'll pass those links under this YouTube link. Terraform stateful is mutable. Sorry, I forgot this. Maybe I'll check and come back to you.
Yeah, just
Maybe Narain. Yeah.
okay, mutable. The file is actually a plain file, right? It's if you are logged it in S3 or somewhere, you can always pull the state file locally if you want to modify. When you say mutable, we have played it around in the past when we had some kind of issues in the live environment. We had some corrupted state files. We had to go modify the state file to match the live environment. But the right way to modify state file is to import your resources from your live environment, right? So there is a Terraform import command. If you want to have already a live environment is available, and if you want to put those as a part of your Terraform state, then the import is the right way to do it. And you can always modify the state file manually, but I won't recommend it doing it in any of your live environments unless there is a real issue, and that's the only way you can resolve it. But that's not the suggested way. State file mutable, yes, nobody's protecting it. It's a file. If you're storing it in S3 bucket, and even if you're storing it in S3 or Vault, if you have access to it, of course, you can go and modify it. The file itself is can be modified, and then Terraform only understands it by reading it again. It's a plain text file. You can go modify it, but not suggested.
Is there any other certificate course for Terraform? No, Hashicorp. So Terraform is basically released by Hashicorp. They are having this course certification. There is no other certification available for Terraform right now. Sorry, Jivanand, maybe I took that question wrongly. So that certificate course, not only Zilora, so many people are having the course. I referred Zilora course specific. Hands and questions, yeah, you can practice this, practice exams. That will help you to understand how exactly the questions and in what way we have the code and what is the mistakes we are doing and how we can understand the code. Is there any tips and tricks available so that we start exploring the sample exams, the practice exams, you will have some fair idea. That is more than enough.
Ravi, the question is more about the questions from the certifications. Are they having some kind of hands-on that whether you want to play around in a cluster or something, or the question is only multiple choice question?
Okay, sorry, I took it wrong. Okay, yeah, multiple choices question only, and they will give you the code actually. We are not going to execute any code, and based upon that execution, if you see any output, you're going to paste that output. In that way, there nothing is there. There is no lab-oriented questions. They will have the code, and if I execute this code, what are the things I'll get in that way? And then there will be some flaws in the code. Maybe some comma would be defined, or AWS underscore instance. Instead of defining that resource, they might have AWS hyphen instance. In that way, some differences will be there at the code level, or how you can execute that output module, and how you will call the modules into your code. How you will pass your resource outputs into different modules. In this way, the questions will be there. But everything is multiple choice questions only. Information CloudWatch event alerts dashboard using Terraform. Naren, if you can help it here. Information.
Actually, I am not aware either. We have not used CloudWatch.
But you can enable the resources basically. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, we can enable the resources, like we can provision the CloudWatch event alerts. CloudWatch event, like you can enable the CloudWatch and you can enable the CloudTrail. Likewise, you can start deploying the infrastructure using the Terraform code. But again, converting the alerts into different thing and all, that is something we need to understand. Yeah, multiple resources can be created using one Terraform code. We can use the alias command within the Terraform code. You can check with that keyword alias. You can have multiple resources with the same code. No, we don't. Right now, they didn't give any second attempt option. There is no free attempt. Yeah, we'll get the results then and there. Once you finish the exam, immediately the score will get pop up, and you will get the individual section-wise score in your mail. That is immediate only. But they will say 2 days, but the result will be published immediately, and you will get the certificate and other things in within 2 working days. Yeah, any section Terraform code how it can be. Yeah, Terraform import is not matured as such till date. Like they didn't. In future, they are going to bring it. Maybe they are saying they are in that roadmap. Like even if the manually created environment can be imported into a Terraform code, that is something not available right now. They are in the roadmap. As of now, we need to capture the instance details and how exactly we are going to deploy one resource in the same similar way. We need to create code for that resource, and then we have to import it. So you can see that in your state file. So my state file is having this environment, and there is a separate resource created manually. We can capture that input, capture those details, and create a code and put it in your state file. That can be do it. So while importing, you can
Yeah,
capture this detail.
sure. Thanks for joining in. Yeah, import is not something that we have to use in day-to-day ops. Import is more like an workaround because only instances that we have used is we have provisioned the infrastructure using Terraform, but somebody has created during an incident that they needed a particular resource, and then they created it live using console, right? And then now there are two ways. Either we drop that resource, create one more in Terraform, or we import it. But as Ravi clearly mentioned, that it's not very mature one. It's not supporting all the resource types available in the providers. For example, in AWS, it's not supporting everything that's available, and it's a hacky way of doing things. So probably not suggested again in your live environment. Better to plan another maintenance to create a resource directly from Terraform and replace the one that got created during an incident day, but not suggested to be used in day-to-day operations as such.
The fee is $70, 70 USD plus your local GST tax. Yeah, I'll switch to that. And we get questions specific to one cloud provider. Any CSP of choice. No, there is no specific questions. It's like more. They are capturing the code around AWS, mostly around AWS. So you can refer the AWS resources under Terraform. I don't have any friends who are using Pulumi.
If I'm not wrong, it's more like code based, I think.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's similar to Terraform, but I'm not sure.
Using programming languages, if I'm not wrong. More a developer friendly way of IAC. Very useful for startups where the developers are their own infrastructure managing guys, right? They are familiar with a particular development programming language, and then they want to use the same thing for IAC and stuff like that. Terraform uses its own HSL. I think there is also an AWS provided CDK, which is very similar. You can use your own programming language to start bringing up the resources. So I think it's a choice. Again, more an organizational choice. But if you're allowed to make that choice, I would say it depends on whether the developers are going to make the IAC, because you don't want an infrastructure person who is not aware of much of programming languages to start learning programming language just for maintaining infrastructure. In that case, the Terraform phone language or even JSON and or YAML are pretty easy to learn. Learning curve is very less rather than learning a new programming language. But if it's going to be a programming team or developers who are going to say, from tomorrow I'm going to maintain my own infrastructure, then probably we can look at the alternatives like this. like CDK and Houdini. But very good question. Yeah.
Any other questions, maybe? And one simple thing is like start at the basic, understand the basics clearly. So how exactly the code works, the init, apply, plan, validate, and how the backends are getting maintained, and how we can pass the secrets, and what is the key differences between the enterprise cloud and other things. So likewise, start exploring everything and start writing your own code. Start with the very basic thing so that you will have the feel like this is how the code is getting executed. Once you start writing the code and execute it, then only you will understand the Terraform init, plan, validate, and so many things. Then it will be easy when you start viewing the courses, video courses, and then doing the practical exam. It is going to highly help you over the exams as well.
Ravi, I don't see any more questions in the
Yeah.
chat right now in the live, but I'm sure there will be some questions offline being asked in the same YouTube video. Under the comments, probably will come back and then we'll check them regularly to answer it back. Thanks a lot, Ravi, for this session. It was very enlightening. There are so many details. There are lots of things to digest, and it's very very informative. I see it's covering A to Z of the whole Terraform certification journey, starting on how to prepare and also about the exams and what happens on that day of exam, etc. It's very detailed. I think everybody. So people who are live, please do share it along with your colleagues or friends who are planning to take Terraform or even working in Terraform or even thinking about Terraform. And also subscribe to our channel. We are going to come up with lots of live videos like this and also recorded videos on Terraform specifically in future, so that we can cover specific subjects in detail, and keep asking your questions. Let's interact here in the comments. For people who are live, do share it across. For people who are going to watch it offline later, again, you can ask your questions anytime in the comments and we'll be there to support. We'll be sharing the slides shortly. I'll add the link also in the YouTube comment itself. You'll be able to take. Vamsi, I'm seeing that you're asking about exam dumps. I don't think it's going to be there because the questions are normally very shuffled. And the Terraform as such concept is very very straightforward. So I suggest go through the use the same path that Ravi explained, and then be successful. Any questions, anytime, please post it and we'll be able to respond. Not just related to the exam itself, but related to Terraform or anything related to DevOps. Our channel is open. Do place your questions, watch our other videos, share it. And thanks for being here live for more than an hour. And thanks a lot, Ravi, again for the insights and for being here, for sharing your experience and knowledge with everybody.
Yeah, thank you,
Thanks.
Naren. Thanks for that opportunity. And thank you, everyone. All the very best. And start posting your questions and do subscribe to Bright by Bytes. And we'll keep on update. And based upon your request, we'll start giving more videos. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Naren.
Yeah. Thanks, Giri, for your Giri Prasad for your wishes. And be there, subscribe to our channel, and you'll get much more such insights. And look at our old past videos as well on different topics. If nothing else, I'm going to close this live, but watch our channel for much more videos like this and even live discussions. I know it was due to cyclone in Chennai, it was pretty difficult. I wasn't sure whether we are going to really have this session today. Like past 2 days were full of power cut here in my house, but luckily today it was little stable, and we were able to make it. Thanks everyone for your support and for being here. Closing the session. Thanks everybody. Bye.